On today's episode, hey, if you're looking forward to Aladdin 2, well, Mena, Massoud, the star of Aladdin, is saying you're probably in for some disappointment. We're going to review the brand new Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Gladiator, the sequel, yes, the sequel to Gladiator. It looks like they've got Oscar nominee Barry Keoghan from the Eternals is lined up to be in it. We're going to talk about who is James Gunn's Superman. Could it be one of the people that he's already worked with? Super Mario Brothers is tracking to maybe be the biggest opening of 2023 so far. Mandalorian is suffering its worst ratings in the series history. That and a whole bunch more. The John Campea Show starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations and happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you guys. I literally pulled the only green thing I've got in my closet out today. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good stuff. Joining me today, we got Ray Ora. Sitting back there, we've got Taylor Gonzalez. Running the show is Jonathan Voico, writer, director, producer. In a secret life, he's actually a leprechaun himself, Robert Meyer Burnett. And of course, most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Here's how today's show is going to go. We break it down into two parts. At first, we're going to talk about some predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your comments and questions. The new way right now that you can get in a comment or question on the show is by going to the tip link that's at the top of the description of the video, or you can manually go there at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. The best part is, if we don't have time to get around to your question, we probably will. But if we don't, your question is still going to be there, and we'll address it in an upcoming open mic or mailbag. All right, guys. With all that down, we got a bunch of stuff to cover here today, so let's dive right into it and start with this. You know, we talked the other day about how there is this Disney Plus show called Willow, and I never understood why they were making it, but I got caught up in some of the excitement when the last trailer or two came out. I thought, okay, this looks all right. And I watched it, and it's not very good. Not a good show. I wanted to like it. I actually desperately wanted to like it. And just not very good. Not a good show. Where the namesake of the show, Willow, is maybe the fourth most important character in the show. Maybe. Badly put together story, disjointed editing, just a story that just didn't flow. It didn't work so well for me. But that doesn't mean it didn't work for some people. There are some people that have written to me say, hey, you know, John, I really like the Willow series. That's awesome. That's great. Now, word came out the other day that Lucasfilm and Disney had decided to cancel Willow after just one season, to which a lot of us, not everyone, but a lot of us said, makes sense. But hold your horses, because apparently maybe the reports of Willow's demise have been greatly exaggerated. Because the showrunner and the writer of the show, Kazdan, came out and put up a very long public statement via his Twitter, basically saying, we have not canceled Willow. Basically said that, we'll go over to my screen for this, but it picks up really the meat of it. It says this: the truth is less splashy, but here it is. A decision was made last week to release our main cast for other series opportunities that may arise for them in the upcoming year. With all the TV and movies in production around the world, it feels unfair to limit an actor's availability without a clear sense of when you're going to need them again. It's further trivialized by simple reality that the scripts we've been working on require just as many actors from our first season with whom no such contracts or contractual hold exists. Nothing prevented Annabelle Davis, for example, from tacking on another show, but you better believe that Mims appears in every single Volume 2 chapter. Now, basically, what he goes on to say here is this: is that the issue is that, like many streaming shows he talks about, and he's not wrong about this part, with many streaming shows that are, it isn't like traditional TV. You're going to get a season every single year. Right? We've just been talking about House of the Dragon is going to have probably 2 years in between breaks. I don't know right now when The Last of Us season 2 is going to come. So he basically said this: it was clear for us that we were not going to be able to shoot within the next 12 months. And it therefore was unfair for us to keep our actors under obligation. We released our actors so they can go and pursue other stuff, and we'll get back around to them when we're ready to go. And he said, listen, we've got our blueprint for season 2 already. Now, he did not guarantee that season 2 was going to happen. All right. This was not its official Willow season 2 is happening situation. He's just saying that no such decision has been made. The decision was only made last week to release the actors from their contracts so they can pursue other stuff, because that's only fair. But according to him, the plan is still to do Willow 2. All right. Somebody wrote to me, Rob, and said, yeah, do you hate this? Because I know you didn't like the show. And I responded, I said, well, why would I hate it? Like, let's say they do decide to do Willow season 2. Why would I hate that? I mean, all I have to do is not watch. That's all I have to do. And there are people out there who quite like the show. So why would I want to, keep them from something that they enjoy? And who knows? Maybe the second season maybe they learned a bunch of lessons, and maybe a second season would be a lot better. I'll tell you what, I hated the first Rush Hour movie. There, I said it. Hated it. I thought it sucked, but I loved Rush Hour 2. I hated the first Star Trek movie, Rob. I know you and I disagree on that, but that's fine. But I love Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan. So, I mean, you can have a big improvement. Again, do I think they're actually going to make a Willow season 2? I don't. I just don't think they will. But if they do, it's no skin off my nose, and maybe they'll make it better. I don't know. Rob, you heard about this. I know, like me, you were not a big fan of Willow season 1. But
no.
What do you think about Kazan's comments here?
Well, I think hope springs eternal, and I like that he's putting a positive spin on it for the actor's sake, if nothing else. I mean, look, despite the fact that we might not like something, a lot of people put a lot of love, sweat, time, and tears into making it. I mean, that anything gets made. I felt that story, especially in this day and age, John, when we're getting things like Last of Us, House of the Dragon, now, I mean, I hated Star Trek Picard seasons 1 and 2, and I love season 3.
There you go.
Then and there. But if you're going to make a fantasy show, there's so many on that are great. And I think that if you make a lackluster fantasy show, you only have yourself to blame. And look, I wanted this to be great. Maybe it'll take another 35 years to make season 2. I mean, who knows? But I do think it's dead. I hate to say it, because look, in this day and age, they get real-time analytics on who's watching these shows. So they know exactly which shows are working and which shows aren't. And, look at social. This doesn't exactly have a big social media presence.
No, it's true. Nobody. And listen, I think there's one other aspect that they're not mentioning here. And again, Bob Iger has not gone on the phone with me to tell me this is the case. Okay, this is just me looking at it and analyzing it and speculating, okay? But I think a big part of this is, we all know the worst kept secret in Hollywood right now is that Kathleen Kennedy is on her way out, right? They'll probably make that official 3-4 months after Indiana Jones 5 finishes its run. But everybody knows they're going to have a new head of Lucasfilm at some point here. And they're probably not going to make a decision about putting that show back on the air and then handcuffing that to a new Lucasfilm president who's probably going to come in. So I would venture to guess, I believe him. I believe him when he says a decision hasn't really been made yet about it, that the plan is still to do it. I believe him. But I also believe that what they're not talking about is a new head of Lucasfilm, when they come in, is going to be the one to make that decision. And I think the likelihood of that new head of Lucasfilm deciding to give it a green light for a second season is probably pretty low. But I don't know. We'll see.
Hope springs eternal, John.
Hope springs eternal. All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Apparently, Willow is not actually as dead as it's been reported. The reports of its demise have been greatly exaggerated. So I don't know. Do you think it'll come back? Maybe you were one of the people that enjoyed the show. Maybe you weren't. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to our next topic here, shall we? And that one is this. We always say whenever the topic of Disney live action remakes of classic animation comes up, is that Disney is very hit and miss. All right? They're very hit and miss. Because you get what, Maleficent, which I didn't like all that much. Beauty and the Beast, which some people like and some people didn't like. A number of these things. However, on the other hand, you got Kenneth Branagh's Cinderella, which I really loved. And I really liked Guy Ritchie's Aladdin. And if you watched our show for any period of time, you know that I love Guy Ritchie. But I thought that was a very obvious mismatch. I just couldn't see Guy Ritchie of Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch. And I just couldn't see him directing Aladdin. And a lot of people saw Will Smith casted. Well, let's face it, a lot of people were never going to be happy no matter who they cast as the genie, because it's not Robin Williams. And that's understandable. But a lot of people were kind of iffy on that, and I was a little iffy on it too. I'll tell you what, I loved this movie. Ann and I remember the first time we watched it, Ann and I came out of the theater. We were still living in Burbank at the time, and walking back to our house from the theater, and like just chatting and giggling and singing the songs and all that kind of stuff. And I think we went back to the theater like 4 times to go see it. I know it's not as good as the original, but I loved it. And guess what? It joined the $1 billion club. That movie joined the $1 billion club. And so everybody was like, well, they're going to make a sequel, and it ain't going to be The Return of Jafar. But there's going to be a sequel, probably. Now, then the Oscars of 2022 happened, and the slap happened. And I ain't talking about dope beats. I mean, the literal slap happened when Will Smith took it on stage, did the stupidest thing of his career, and decided to make a public ass of himself and humiliate himself and disgrace his legacy. And that threw Aladdin 2 into question about whether it would happen. But there was also questions about other Will Smith projects, right? There was questions about, are they ever going to make another Bad Boys again after the success of Bad Boys 3? Well, guess what? They are making Bad Boys 4. And Apple TV Plus did put out Emancipation. Wasn't all that good, but they put it out. Actually, it's not that good, but Will Smith was really good in it.
Yeah.
He's always good.
And Bad Boys, I would think that what Will Smith did is advertising for Bad Boys.
It kind of is.
They should just call it Batter Boys.
In the business, Rob, they call that to brand.
There you go.
It's to brand. So it's all to brand. Now, a couple weeks ago, director Guy Ritchie, when asked about the idea of them doing another, the possibility of doing another one, he said, yeah, listen, I've actually got a lot of ideas. We're developing some ideas, and he talked at length about it. It's like, yeah, I still want to do an Aladdin 2. And I'll go on record right now. I want to see an Aladdin 2. I loved the charm of Will Smith in it. I thought Mena Massoud was great in it. I thought the whole cast had terrific chemistry together. I thought it felt fun and light and wonderful, and I would love to see more of it. I really, really would. So with Guy Ritchie a couple of weeks ago saying, yeah, I still got all these ideas and blah, blah, blah. Well, Mena Massoud said, hold my beer, went into his closet, where he's got a big tub of water, and withdrew his giant wet blanket and decided to throw it all over us. Because when Mena Massoud was asked on Twitter directly by a fan, are we still getting Aladdin 2? Mena Massoud just simply and directly said, very unlikely at this point. Very unlikely at this point. Which, I'm not going to lie to you, bums me out. Because I want to see this. By the way, where the hell is Mena Massoud? This guy was great in Aladdin. He should be getting more roles, and not in that stupid direct-to-home video streaming thing he did with the girl from Riverdale. He did like one of the worst films of the year, some little rom-com thing on Riverdale. Anyway, that being said, this bums me out. And, my first thought was, why on earth, and Rob, I need to know what you think about this, because my first thought was, why on earth would Guy Ritchie, when asked just a couple weeks ago, and saying, hey, listen, we're pitching around ideas, we got thoughts, and like he said, I had a blast making that movie. I definitely would like to do another one, all that kind of stuff. How do we go from that to the star of the movie saying very unlikely at this point? My one big thought is this, and I could be 1 billion times wrong. What has happened between a few weeks ago when Guy Ritchie made that statement and when Mena Massoud just made this tweet? Chris Rock put out a Netflix comedy special where if you kind of felt over the past year, the whole Will Smith thing settling down. Listen, as far as I'm concerned, Will Smith has paid the price for the stupid thing he did. He was globally humiliated. It has cost him millions and millions of dollars. It has tarnished his reputation. It shouldn't be a life sentence. The guy should be allowed to now come back and do work. He paid the price. He paid the price. But if you've kind of thought that maybe the thing was starting to settle down, they've announced Bad Boys, maybe the comeback can now start. And then Chris Rock's special drops where he eviscerates Will Smith. And people loved it. And again, I don't know that this has anything to do with it. I just, for my own rationale, looking at this, I'm like, what's happened since Guy Ritchie said, yeah, maybe it looks good, to Mena Massoud saying, no, it doesn't look good. Anyway, Rob, you read what Mena Massoud said. First of all, what did you even think about the first Aladdin? Would you be looking forward to a second one? Have you thought they would do a second one? And where do you put things now?
Well, first of all, I thought Guy Ritchie's Aladdin was wonderful. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, it was something that I'm like, how do you follow up Robin Williams? I mean, I don't, and I thought Will Smith was great as the genie. I thought the whole cast was great. And that movie just puts a smile on your face. It should have earned $1 billion. It deserved it. And it was talk about a 4-quadrant smash hit. Everything about that movie was delightful. And I would like you. I mean, come on. You look at this picture, it makes you smile.
It's great. He resisted the temptation to do a Robin Williams impersonation.
Absolutely.
Made it his own and still yet throughout it paid a lot of homage to Robin Williams in it, which I loved.
Which I love too. And I thought it's a great film. It made $1 billion. We've talked about Bob Iger. He's looking at, well, this movie made $1 billion. You get a sequel and you get a sequel and you get a sequel. But this Will Smith thing for Disney, it's problematic. I mean, I completely understand where they're coming from. And the Chris Rock special, he went hard on Will Smith. I mean, that was, like you said, evisceration might even be too not strong enough. Because he drew and quartered Will Smith in that special. I mean, it was, but you know what? Will Smith brought someone else outside into this drama. And Chris Rock, he stayed quiet. He didn't respond until the special. And he did it in a way that I thought was deserved. He needed to speak his truth.
Yeah.
He needed to get out there, and he said it. And it was, whoo, boy. And it was rough. But I think it was a long time coming. But I think you might be right, because he also contextualized it all in a very different way and brought up their family and their situation and a lot of other unsavory aspects to this whole thing that might have been the cause of it all in the first place. And I was like, whoa. But I still think, look, we live in a gotcha society now where everyone wants to go run and tell on somebody else. Like, ooh, this person didn't get somebody in trouble. It's kind of gross. But I would hope that we also have to, we need forgiveness. And I think that, Will Smith, like you said, has paid a price, a pretty steep price, probably a very expensive price, more than we even know. And I like Will Smith. And he's done a lot of good, I think, in the world. And of course, it's silly when you start talking about celebrities, but he's had a great career that I think he's managed well. And I love him as a performer. I've been watching him for almost 30 years now. I like Parents Just Don't Understand. I love DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
Hey, Summertime is still my summer anthem. That's still my.
It's still ringing in Chris Rock's head.
Yes.
Well, my take on it is, look, it's between them now.
Yeah.
This whole thing is between them, right? Let them have their careers. I'm kind of with you. Just let's move on from it. You know what I mean? But I do have a theory. If there is something to go off of what you're saying, that happened on ABC. Disney owns ABC. Bob Iger has a front and center seat at the Academy Awards because of that reason. So who knows?
But it's more than that too. Think about this. Like, while I believe we need to let Will Smith move on with his career. Well, that's I'm saying that as a fan, not as a business partner.
Right.
Because if you are Disney, look, you were talking, you so accurately pointed out, Bad Boys, totally on brand. Right?
Yes.
Aladdin is a Disney family film. And it could be problematic if you're Disney to say, can we make this joyous, innocent family film with the guy who just broke the law, stormed on stage at a televised event and physically assaulted somebody. And if you thought it was dying down, the guy he assaulted just put it right front and center of it to the public attention again. While on the one hand, I'm like, let Will Smith continue his career. On the other hand, I'm like, yeah, but if I'm a business guy, is doing another Aladdin with that guy good business right now? It's not personal about Will Smith. It's a business decision. I don't know if it's the right business decision. Whereas Bad Boys very well could be the right business decision.
Right.
So I don't know. Actually, I've been dying to ask because Taylor, I don't know. I've never asked Taylor if he liked the Aladdin movie. Would you want another Aladdin movie?
Ooh, you can see my legs. I went into it very skeptical because I think Aladdin is like the animated one is one of my top 3 animated Disney films of all time. Probably second only to maybe Peter Pan. This movie, I loved it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was so fun.
Hey, John, make sure you turn off the audio on that camera. Yeah.
Ooh, did I have the echo of God again? But I really enjoyed that movie. I think Mena is so talented. It's just a bummer that he's not getting roles after being in $1 billion film. That blows my mind that he's not getting offers left and right. So I would love to see a second one.
I really thought I would have put money. I would have put money that he was going to be Ezra in the Ahsoka show. I thought Mena Massoud was perfect to play Ezra. And there were even some whispers and reports that he was going to play Ezra. And now apparently he's not. I mean, I don't know, but I thought he would have been perfect for that. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Things were starting to look good for an Aladdin sequel. And now the star of Aladdin himself, Mena Massoud, is saying, doesn't look likely at this point. I don't know. What do you think about that? Would you want to see a sequel? I know I would. What do you think changed? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Yesterday was a day that I had been looking forward to, the release of Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Now, I admittedly, more than most people, really, really love, let's get the back screen changed, really, really loved the first Shazam movie. I mean, I get it. A lot of people really liked it. A lot of people liked it, but not many people loved it. I loved it. I was so thoroughly entertained by that. And it did not make huge box office, but I've been looking forward to a second one. So finally, yesterday we went to go see it. And I don't know where the Rotten Tomatoes meter stands right now. Let me look that up. Shazam, Fury of the Gods, Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's still above 50%. Yes, it is currently sitting at 55%, 54%. So still, I can say a majority of the critics like it. A razor thin majority of the critics like it. Of course, the first Shazam, I think, had like a 90% critic rating at any rate. So it was with hope that Ray and Ann and I went in to go see Shazam! Fury of the Gods yesterday. And I, for those of you who saw our out of the theater reaction, this won't surprise you, but here's my general feelings on it. I did not think it was as good as the first one, but I had a damn good time. I had a damn good time at this movie. I liked it more than Black Adam. And if you had asked me a year ago, do you think the new Black Adam or the new Shazam is going to be better? I'm like, well, I love Shazam, but it's going to be Black Adam. I think it's better than Black Adam. It took the things that was strong about the first movie and really leaned into them. I will say this, though. There is a little bit, just don't freak out, a little bit of a Thor Love and Thunderism about it, in the sense that there are moments where, even though it's meant to be lighter and a little sillier, there are some points, not nearly as much as Thor Love and Thunder, but that their humor goes a little bit into the too silly. And I think that will rub some people the wrong way. Like, I don't think this movie is going to be for everybody. Just being totally clear about it. I'm not looking at this through rose-colored glasses. But I had a ball. I had a really, really good, fun time watching this movie. Again, Zachary Levi is terrific in this role. His supporting characters, the family, got to do more in this movie than they did last time. Like, they all definitely had a lot more dialogue and all that kind of stuff. And it worked. And The first post-credit scene is gold. Second post-credit scene, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with the second post-credit scene, but somebody can tell you what it is. You don't need to stick around for it. Let's just put it that way. But the first post-credit scene you should stick around for. I thought Helen Mirren was great, but not in it as much as I would like, although she did have one. We saw a little glimpse of it in one of the trailers. She has a kick-ass fight scene in it. Lucy Liu, she was getting no talk going into the movie. Lucy Liu was great in this. I thought she was wonderful. I actually thought, what's the girl's name from West Side Story again?
Oh, Rachel Zegler.
Ziegler, right. She, to me, was Oscar caliber in West Side Story. Oscar caliber. She is clearly a fantastic actress, and I cannot wait to see her in Snow White. She's going to be great. But everybody has a bad day at the office. And I'm going to say that while I love her and was super excited about her, I would actually say out of everything, she might have been kind of the weak link, but that probably has something to do with the writing as well. I didn't think they wrote her character nearly as well as they wrote some of the other ones. Yeah, just a good time. The dragon looked awesome. I loved the action stuff that I loved in the trailers. I loved, again, I don't think I liked it quite as much as the first, but I solidly enjoyed this film. Ray, you were there with me.
Yep,
you said coming out of it, you actually thought it was better than the first. What are your thoughts on the movie?
What's your problem? No, I thought it was a good time. It started off fast and it just kept going fast throughout the whole thing. I mean, there's a lot of imagination in this movie. Like a kid's imagination. If you remember like the first Harry Potter, there's like a lot of stuff that reminded me of Harry Potter, like the fantasy stuff about it I really liked. There's not much to say. I actually enjoyed the whole thing. Like, I thought it was better than the first. I want to see Zachary Levi and more importantly, the rest of the family in something now, because I really like their close, the bond that they have in this movie. So, I do want to see the mom and dad. I think they're great in the movie. Lucy Liu, it's always nice seeing her on screen. We don't, well, at least for me, I don't see her a lot in a lot of things, but
she had a hit show that I never watched once. It was that Sherlock Holmes show. It was a modern day Sherlock. Elementary. Thank you. That thing got like more than 4 seasons, didn't it?
Wow.
4 or 5 or something seasons. I never watched it, but she was working.
Yeah, but on the big screen, it was really nice seeing her again. So, I suggest everyone just try to watch this movie. Give it some money.
What did you think about the humor? Because I was saying that the one thing that I think might rub some people the wrong way is that maybe a little bit of the humor went a little silly sometimes. It worked for me, but what did you think?
Well, I thought the humor matched the child in Billy Batson. So it's like I took myself out of being too serious, and all of it worked for me. I mean, it's not like none of the comedy didn't fit for me. I thought like the comedy from each person, even if it was silly, I just looked at, oh man, that's a kid or whatever like that. I don't know. It worked for me. I know some of it didn't work for you, but I mean, that movie is insane anyways. Like all the stuff that happens in this movie is so insane. Like you got to take yourself out of reality for a minute. Yeah.
I'll tell you what though, here's the thing. This movie's going to tank.
Yeah.
Which is really unfortunate, but it's going to tank. Our theater was not full. Now, granted, we went to a 3 p.m. screening, so I mean, it's not completely unreasonable that the theaters weren't full. I certainly hope it does better than the 35 million they're projecting right now.
We got some good reactions from that theater, though.
Dude, I'll tell you what, the theater we were in seemed to love it,
man.
the theater we were in was into it. They were laughing, they were clapping. You could hear, and there's a couple of legitimate emotional parts.
Oh yeah,
where I got a little choked up. Actually,
crazy.
But here's the other problem they're going to face. The other problem they're going to face with Shazam moving forward is this. Besides the fact that now you have a very problematic situation where the first one didn't make all that much money, like it never cracked 400 million, and now the second one is going to make even less. So that's a big problem already. Trying to continue with Zachary Levi as Shazam, even though I really like him as it. The other problem they're going to face is this. You know, one of the things they talk about in this movie is that Billy is about to turn 18. Well, Billy's going to be 21 soon. Shazam. And like you can't, the Shazamness of it is going to be gone. Like, do you make a Shazam movie where Billy Batson isn't 14, he's 21. He's literally in a bar, legally in a bar, having a beer. Shazam. And then he just turns into Zachary Levi.
Why not? I mean, they do it in like Gods or Justice. What is that game?
Gods and Monsters. Or
No,
you,
the DC game.
Injustice, Gods Among Us.
Oh yeah, Among Us.
He's an adult.
Is
I
Billy
bought
an
it.
adult in that?
Oh yeah.
Why don't I remember that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a little problematic.
Do you think it's their way of saying, "Hey, this is it"? By them saying it's
Well-
or just saying, "Oh, if we're going to do another one, it's going to be the next stage in his
Well,
life."
here's the problem. This, of course, everybody's got to remember that even though James Gunn and Peter Safran have been the heads of DC for a little while now, this movie, the Flash movie, the Aquaman movie are all old Warner Brothers. It's not their new Warner Brothers. So it's almost like whatever happens in these movies are just for the sake of these movies. It's not for the sake of what comes next. So I don't know. I will say this. The post-credit scene throws it a little bit into confusion. And I won't say what the post-credit scene is, but the post-credit scene throws it a bit in confusion. I just think they're going to have a very, very hard time. Listen, I'm going to need James Gunn, who everybody knows I'm a huge fan. I am a James Gunn fanboy. All right. Fully admit. But James is going to have to do some splaining to me if this movie, which is going to tank, I hope it doesn't because I love it, but it's going to tank. He's going to have to explain to me if this movie tanks, which would be 2 Shazam movies in a row that really underperform, and the fact that Billy is now aging out and all that kind of stuff. He's going to have to explain to me how they do keep Zachary Levi Shazam around, but my man Henry isn't there anymore. He's going to have to explain that to me.
I had one more question. Like,
All right.
okay, like this movie, Aquaman, Flash. Obviously, it went through David Zaslav, and he obviously wanted them to release. I
Remember, they were made without David Zaslav.
Yeah, but like,
David
he
Zaslav
watched them
said,
and said
release
if they're
them. Yeah.
because that's how they canceled Batgirl, right? Because
Right.
they watched him and said, "Nah." I was under the assumption it was because they are good movies.
So far, so good.
But after watching this movie looked expensive.
It wasn't. They actually made this movie for about half the amount that they made Black Adam for.
Oh,
the
okay.
budget on this one was $100 million, which is still a very expensive movie, but compared to the average comic book movie these days is like 150, 200 million, sometimes north of that. So it was actually pretty.
Okay, so that
No, I don't
answered my question.
I think it's kind of baked in. I don't think they'll lose money in the long run on this. So.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. Like, again, if this thing makes 35 million opening weekend, I don't know that breaking even is going to be in the cards. I hope it does, though, because I had a really good time. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think about Shazam! Fury of the Gods if you were one of the people that ran out to see it last night? I had a really good time with it, but only about half the critics like it. Almost half of them don't. Maybe you're one of the people that didn't enjoy it. Do you think there could be a future for the character in the upcoming new DC starting in 2025? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to this. You know, obviously, Hollywood is a world of sequels and franchises, because that's where the real money gets made, is in franchises. But one of the stranger concepts for a sequel came up a number of years ago and has hung around, and now it's actually happening, and that is a Gladiator 2. Now, granted, I got more interested in a Gladiator 2 when we found out they changed directions, because I don't know if you remember this, Rob, but the initial concept for Gladiator 2 was that Russell Crowe, Maximus, gets to the Roman afterlife. Only the gods say, "No, Maximus, you are still needed in the world of mortal men," and they send him back. And
Dude, I would have loved that.
I didn't know if I liked the idea.
It's
TBS.
absurd, but I would have loved it.
I mean, it was absurd. I mean, Russell Crowe's my favorite actor. So that, yeah.
And you know, it was Nick Cave who wrote that. Nick Cave, as in the proposition Nick Cave that we have on the wall over there.
Right.
He wrote that script.
The one with Maximus
Nick
coming
Cave
back.
and the Bad Seeds. I mean, yeah.
I just don't know. And I think when word of that got out, I think the studios heard the public reaction, which was give me a break. I mean, basically the public reaction was give me a break. But they did not give up on the idea. And now the conceit of the whole thing is that the kid in the first Gladiator, what was the kid's name again? I keep
Lucius.
forgetting.
Lucius, yeah.
Thank you. who they not so suddenly suggested may have been Maximus's son. They at least alluded to it.
I
maybe
like
a
you,
little bit.
Spaniard. I shall cheer for you.
When was he born? And then there's so there's a little bit of maybe he was Maximus's kid. Who knows? But the idea is that it picks up now with him many years later. Well, a new big piece of information just came out as it is being reported in the major trades that Eternal star and recent Academy Award nominee Bear Keoghan is in talks to star in the Gladiator film, which is pretty badass. Now, one of the things they're saying in here is that Keoghan is expected to play Emperor Geta, if I'm pronouncing that right, Geta, if the deal closes. So I don't know if this is another evil emperor or if it's going to be like a Joaquin Phoenix kind of role or it's going to be a good guy kind of role. I mean, I have no idea at this point. All I know is that I love this guy. I thought this guy almost stole the show in Eternals. And I do not like romances. Generally speaking, I don't like romances in my superhero films, right? There are a couple of exceptions. Tony and Pepper, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and Emma Stone's Gwen, and Druig and Makari. Druig and Makari. I loved it was one of the most precious, adorable, cute relationships. I could watch a whole movie of that. But anyway, then of course he popped up as Joker in the Batman, and everybody liked. And by the way, that big extended deleted scene got released online, and it's like, I think it's a good idea that they deleted the scene, but wow, he was really good in that one little thing. Then of course, Banshees of Inisherin, he steals the show, gets an Academy Award nomination, and now they're talking about this. Tell you what, Rob, I am slowly getting won over to this idea of Gladiator 2, which by the way, they're saying Ridley Scott himself would actually direct. What do you think about this casting, and are you warming up to it at Gladiator 2?
Dude, there's only one cast member that I want to come back, and that is Connie Nielsen as Lucius's mother.
Have to.
I mean, you've got to bring her back. One of the hottest women in the world, even as she ages. She's like fine wine. I love her so much. Ever since The Devil's Advocate. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
No, but look, I am the biggest Gladiator fanboy. I've watched Gladiator more times than I care to admit. The short version, the long version, I own like 6 different copies of it. I've got a steelbook, I've got Blu-rays, I've got 4Ks. I love this movie so much. I have a great 6-scale action figure of Maximus. I'm actually excited to see the sequel. I don't care what it's about. I just want to hear Lisa Gerrard's score with Hans Zimmer. They got to come back and do it together again. Ridley Scott's going to direct. They're bringing back Janty Yates, who we've interviewed on Designing Hollywood. They're Arthur Max, the production designer, is coming back. I mean, bring it on.
We actually have a quick little update that Denzel Washington is also going to be joining this.
Yeah, I just got it. I literally just on my watch right here got an update saying Denzel Washington.
Okay, could this movie now get any better if Denzel Washington is in it?
I was about to say, you said Connie Nielsen. To me, it's Jaimon Hansu, who I just saw in Shazam, right? Because that ends perfectly. Like maybe he comes back to be kind of a mentor kind of figure.
Oh, yeah.
Or something like that.
He has to come back.
All right, let me see.
Yet.
Let me see if I can bring this up on screen. I'm not sure that I can. I should be able to. Give me one moment here. I can't bring it up on screen. Well, let me try it anyway. All right, try that. So right now, this is, I guess, coming out of Deadline. Exclusive, almost 16 years ago, Denzel Washington and Ridley Scott wowed audiences with their hit crime drama, American Gangster, and now it looks like the two A-listers are ready to get back together in a big way. Sources tell Deadline that Washington is in final negotiations to co-star in Scott's sequel to his Oscar award-winning film Gladiator. Well then,
What's he going to play, though?
What's that?
What does it say? What he's going to play?
Well, no. I mean, this is all I got. I just have this one little graphic that's been sent to me.
Okay,
that's it.
I'll watch Denzel Washington read a phone book.
I mean, you know what? In Deadline, it says Denzel Washington reading a phone book in Gladiator 2.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, look, and they did it. I love American Gangster. American Gangster is great. And bring it on, John.
I mean, this is serious. We got an Academy Award winner. We got Academy Award nominee. I mean, this thing is clearly moving forward ahead. Well, Ray, we're going to have to rename the segment to Denzel Washington and Barry Keoghan. This is
maybe if Jaimin Hansu comes back, he could play like the leader of the Gladiators. He plays the Oliver Reed character, Proximo, but because he died, so now he's the guy that runs the Gladiators now.
I don't know. I mean, I am suddenly now Denzel Washington. I'm suddenly getting very excited about this.
I mean, what a cast!
I've in 5 minutes I've gone to really warming up to now being really, really excited. For this.
Talking about topical news dropping.
I mean, that's pretty key. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? It looks like this Gladiator sequel is moving full speed ahead. We started off this morning hearing Academy Award nominee Barry Keoghan joining it, and now Denzel Washington. Which, are you kidding me? I mean, okay. What do you guys think about this? Are you now excited for this? Maybe you were never interested. Maybe you were excited all along. Whatever you guys think, jump into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's now move on to our Mint Mobile hotline questions of the day. If you guys have a question for the show and you'd like to hear your voice on our show, go ahead and call our Mint Mobile number anytime, 24/7 at 951-268-4259. And our first Mint Mobile hotline question is asking about Avatar 3 being both a movie and a series? Check it out.
Hey, John. I wonder if you guys just saw the news that James Cameron's Avatar 3 might actually get a 9-hour show release as well as a theatrical. I kind of think this is a good compromise, not just for the big blockbusters, but even for movies like The Northman, which was very expensive. It didn't make a lot of money at the box office, but it was critically acclaimed. So maybe these big studios could see something like that and pivot and say, you know what, we'll give them a ton of money to make this movie, and we'll also, in our back of our pockets, have a 10-episode series. You think this is something that theaters can think about doing moving forward? Thank you.
All right, man. Thanks a lot for calling that in. So, yeah, there are these whispers and talk going around that maybe what Disney would look at. Because remember, James Gunn recently addressed directly the question of, could they make an Avatar Disney Plus series? And James Cameron said, look, I never say never, but it ain't going to happen anytime soon. It's cost prohibitive. It's all this kind of stuff. So there have been some speculations going around recently. You may have seen them, that maybe what they do is they take Avatar 3 and they put it into theaters, but they also take Avatar 3, re-include any deleted footage they may have from it, and chop it up and release it as a limited series on Disney Plus. There's no way. There's no way. And I'll tell you why there's no way that would happen and why it would be fundamentally dumb for them to do it. It's not fundamentally dumb to think of it. It's not fundamentally dumb to speculate about it, but it would be fundamentally really stupid for Disney to do it. And here's why. Number one, Avatar: The Way of Water ended up costing $400 million to make, making it one of the most expensive films of all time. Now, granted, it paid off, became the third biggest hit in the history of cinema, but still, $400 million. Do you know how much it would cost? Avatar's 3 budget would probably go, let's face it, it's probably going to go up a bit, probably looking at $450 million. Would go from $450 million to probably $900 million. If you suddenly said you had to make a 9-hour version of it, like, that's just ridiculous. So on the one hand, it's incredibly cost prohibitive, but you might say, but John, then they'd be getting a movie and a series. Well, no, they wouldn't, because you'd be doing two things. Number one, you'd be cannibalizing any box office return. Because if you think a third Avatar movie would join the $2 billion club, if there's also just going to be on Disney Plus as a series, you're cannibalizing your own box office revenue. You're going to just eat away. You're probably going to lose $1 billion, maybe a little bit less than $1 billion, but you'll be cannibalizing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars gone. On top of that, let's say you took Avatar 3, you added a whole bunch of extra stuff, and then you chopped it up into a 9-part, 9-hour Disney Plus series. All right. what you're going to be left with is a series filled with 7 episodes of fluff, or a movie in theaters that feels outrageously incomplete. You cannot make a full, complete beginning, middle, and end satisfactory story that both has a 3-hour version and a 9-hour version. There's just no doing that. That you just can't do it. So besides the fact that it would be insanely cost prohibitive, because you're talking about spending minimum probably $800-900 million to do it. Secondly, you'd be cannibalizing, the two entities would be cannibalizing each other. And number 3, one of them is going to feel absolutely unnecessary because you're either going to have a series that's more than half of its episode or pointless fluff, or a movie that feels radically incomplete. I just don't see, Rob, maybe you do, and you can educate us here. I see no potential here. I see no possible upside. There is just no good reason to do something like this. How do you see it?
I was talking to, around the time of the release of Avatar 2, a very high-ranking person at 20th Century Studios that was telling me they don't even know if Avatar 3 can make its 2024 holiday release date because of how laborious it is to do the effects. Because every shot's an effect shot, and every shot's rendered. I mean, even though the render times have speeded up, I don't even think it would be physically possible to finish a 9-hour version of Avatar it would take years, because even if you think about it, I mean, they're rendering these shots at a very high resolution, and it takes like a day to do a shot. And if a movie has 4,000 shots, and these movies are long, they're already 3 hours long. So I don't even think it would take years to do a Avatar 3 version. And like you said, 900 million, I think that's on the conservative side. I think it costs a lot more than that. It can't be done. And I don't think there's any impetus to do it either. I mean, why would you? I understand the idea that maybe you'd want to get a series out of it, but the way these movies are made, I don't see that's even a possibility. Just from a production standpoint, I don't think it can be done. I mean, it could be done if you had a limitless amount of time and a limitless amount of money, but not 9 hours.
Yeah, I just don't see how it could possibly be a thing or be done. It's just, and the example that our caller brought up is an interesting one because they use the Northman as an example, and I think that's a good one but the Northman presents a thing that maybe you should have done as a series anyway. But the Northman was like 2-something hours. You can't suddenly make that into a series, and doubling its budget is not going to solve the problem that it underperformed at the box. By the way, Northman is a fabulous movie. If you haven't seen it, you should. But it underperformed at the box office.
I would say the closest thing that's analogous to it is Quentin Tarantino redoing The Hateful Eight in 4 episodes, because then he was able to add things, and but you're not dealing with a movie whose every single shot is a visual effect that has to be, created. And there's no way around that. And there is costs associated with every shot, and there's render times. It's for a movie like this, 9 hours of Avatar 3 is insane. You could never do it.
I love your comparison of Hateful Eight, because therein lies some possibility, right? Because if you were to say, because let's face it, James Cameron is not going to edit down his creation. So Avatar 3 is probably going to be over 3 hours, right? Yeah. I think that's safe to say. So if the question was, could they take Avatar 3 as a 3 hour plus movie, add in 35 minutes of additional deleted footage, and chop that into a 4-part miniseries that then plays on Disney Plus, that enters into a much bigger realm of possibility. It doesn't, though, Rob, solve the problem of you'd be cannibalizing your own success, unless what they did was give Avatar 3 its full theatrical run, period, and then instead of releasing it on Disney Plus as a single movie, they release it as a 4-part thing with additional bonus features to stretch it out to 4 hours. I still don't think that's the smartest thing to do, but it certainly becomes a lot more possible. What do you think?
Yeah, it could, but you're still running into the incredible amount of time to do these effect shots.
Yep. All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? There's whispers going around that maybe they take Avatar 3 both as a 3-hour movie and a 9-hour series. Is there a way you can possibly see that happening that maybe we're not thinking of right now? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're going to take a break here for a second and thank a couple of the sponsors of our show here today. You know, keeps themselves smooth? Navi, and they probably use our friends at Manscaped as well as the great folks over at MasterClass.
Wow.
We want to thank a sponsor of this video, MasterClass. MasterClass offers classes on a wide variety of topics, all taught by world-class instructors at the very top of their fields. Each class is broken out into individual video lessons, usually around 10 minutes long. And MasterClass is completely accessible on your phone, the web, smart TV, and available via audio mode to listen to classes on the go. They have over 2,500 video lessons from over 180 of today's most brilliant minds. They're all available anytime, anywhere on iOS, Android, desktop, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Roku. Now, obviously around here on the John Campea Show, we love our movies, so why not learn filmmaking from Jodie Foster, or maybe directing from Ron Howard himself, or the great Neil Gaiman doing his class on the art of storytelling. And you guys have heard me talk about my favorite class, Business Strategy and Leadership by Big Papa Iger himself, Bob Iger, the new and returning CEO of Disney. So guys, I highly recommend that you check it out. Get unlimited access to every class, and as a John Campea Show listener, you get 15% off an annual membership. Just go to masterclass.com/Campea now. That's masterclass.com/Campea for 15% off Masterclass. Hey guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Manscaped. Breaking news, Manscaped now sells beard products. That's right, they are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with the brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using the code Campea for 20% off and free shipping. It all starts with the Beard Hedger. This thing is a juggernaut of fixing faces. First off, this cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair cutting lengths, all with one guard. So no more messy drawers full of extra add-ons. You also get the beard shampoo and conditioner. Because guys, you gotta remember that all of your hair is different. Your beard hair is more coarse and easier to damage than the hair on your head. Next, the kit has Manscaped's beard oil. The oil relieves dryness both on the beard and the skin beneath. You then cap it off with the Beard Balm that shapes, styles, moisturizes, and tames for a sculpted look. The Pro Beard Kit also comes with 3 special gifts: a beard brush, comb, and scissors to ensure your beard is ready to impress. With a nice beard, your face is perfectly groomed, right? Wrong. You need to keep an eye out for those tough to trim ear and nose hairs. The brand new Weed Whacker 2.0 offers improved blades and skin-safe technology with a no-tugging guarantee. It's never been so painless to mind your manholes. And now that you have your face looking great, you must try Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0 for the full body grooming experience. And good news, the Performance Package 4.0 now comes with the Weed Whacker 2.0 and all of the other below-the-waist grooming products that Manscaped is known for. Your significant other will be delighted to see you covering all bases, if you know what I mean. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code Campea at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code Campea. Manscaped Beard Hedger, 1 stroke, 1 guard, 20 lengths. And thank you to our friends at Manscaped and MasterClass for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Remember, guys, when you check out and support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So if you go down to the description of this video, right near the top, you'll find links and promo codes to the sponsors of today's show. And again, a big happy St. Patrick's Day thank you to MasterClass and Manscaped. All right, guys. With that down, let's get back over to our Mint Mobile hotline, shall we? Because we got another question here today about who's going to be the Superman for James Gunn. Check it out.
Hey, John and crew. This is Riley from Richmond, Texas. I was wondering, now that we know James Gunn is directing the new Superman movie, do you think they'll cast an actor that he's already worked with? And who do you think it would be? Thanks.
All right. Thanks a lot for calling that in, man. Of course, one of the big questions going around right now is, of course, James Gunn announced yesterday officially he is going to direct the new Superman, the first movie in the brand new DC. which doesn't come until 2025, but that'll be our first movie in the brand new DC. James Gunn is both writing, directing, and is the studio head. I can't remember the last time. Has that ever happened?
No,
That the movie's
so.
being written, directed by the studio head. Whatever. It's going to be an interesting thing to turn out. Now, a lot of people have already been asking about who could play Superman. I love the way this question, though, about if it could be somebody that James Gunn has already worked with. That's a very, very interesting question, because there are a few people who I really like the notion playing Superman, but they have never worked with James Gunn. So Will Poulter, but actually has worked with James Gunn, is in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Now that I think about it, Will Poulter is a very interesting name. A name other people said that I was cold on, but I've warmed up to, is maybe Austin Butler, who's of course just nominated for Best Actor at the Academy Awards. What's the guy's name?
Dylan O'Brien.
Dylan O'Brien. Brian Dylan? No, Dylan O'Brien from the Maze Runner series. And what's it called? Love and Monsters? Was that the movie he was just in as well? I mean, that's one that a lot of people seem to like. I'm warming up to that one as well. So, but what about if you're confining it just to people that James Gunn has worked with? Well, I mean, I found an interesting list. Like this list is from our friends at Screen Rant, but it's not about the Superman thing together. But let's look at some of the people that James Gunn really likes to work with. Michael Rooker. Oh, wait, loves working with Michael, right? Loves working with Michael. And you know what? In a strange way, I could see a Perry White in Michael Rooker, but definitely not our Superman, because they said they're going for a slightly younger Superman. All right, well, his brother, Sean Gunn, I don't think he'd cast his own brother as Superman. I think that would, just number one, first of all, I like Sean Gunn very much, but he's clearly not a good pick to play Superman. And that would be very problematic for James if he cast his own brother in that role. I don't think we're going to see Sylvester Stallone.
He's young enough.
Yeah.
He could play like mid 30s.
Hey, he still has a Superman physique. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And I think his dance card is freed up because he ain't doing any more Creed movies. Ooh. Where's
the king?
What we need is a video clip of that cat from the Puss in Boots ones that go ooh. Yeah. I don't think it's Sylvester Stallone. Palm Clementif, who I love, but obviously not our Superman. Terrence Rosemore, again, not our Superman. I love Steve Agee. I love this guy. So awesome in Peacemaker. Not our Superman.
Now, was Screen Rant making just a trolling joke when they made this list? Or?
No, this list is specifically actors who have worked with James Gunn in both Marvel and DC films.
Gotcha.
So that's pretty interesting there. Flula Borg, who I'm going to tell you right now, I always found very, very annoying. But I'm warming up to the guy.
He's so funny. Come on.
I am warming up to the guy. Actually, he recently did a guest. Actually, he was with our own Aaron Cummings. He and Aaron Cummings co-starred together in Nathan Fillion's The Rookie show, in an episode of The Rookie. And I got to tell you, I am starting to, and I did like him in Suicide Squad, as small as the role was. I was warming up to. So I'm warming up, but again, not our Superman. Nathan Fillion, who is a James Gunn, reliable, huge ally. If they're going for a younger James Gunn, Nathan's now in his 50s. So probably not our younger Superman. Ask me that 20 years ago, 15 years ago even. Maybe. Michaela's not obviously going to be our Superman. Neither is Elizabeth. Stephen Blackheart, again, I don't see that happening. Danielle is not going to be, although I do love her as Ratcatcher. Oh God, I loved her as Ratcatcher so much. And then, I always mispronounce his name. Chukwudi, anyway, who was great in Peacemaker and is now going to be the High Evolutionary. So I don't really know that there's now one name that isn't on this that I could think of, somebody who's worked with James Gunn that I could totally see playing maybe a Superman character. I mean, obviously, other than I just mentioned him, who's Will Poulter. Mm-hmm. Other than Will Poulter is this guy. Bring up my screen there. Freddie Stroma, who, of course, in Peacemaker plays the vigilante. I really like this kid. And I could I mean, not more than some of the other names we've mentioned, but in the names of people who have worked with James Gunn and worked with James Gunn well, Freddie Stroma is I think would be, I love him as Vigilante. I think he's a great actor. I think his comedic chops are great. And he's already got a good base physique that you could add 15, 20 pounds of muscle and he would look like, I think he'd look like a great Superman. However, the problem with Freddie and all the people on that other list we already looked at is that they're already in DC. Freddie is Vigilante. If we had never seen Vigilante's face, then maybe that remains a possibility. But we know all these people from DC. Sylvester Stallone was a shark. So Stallone could do it, but obviously, they're going to go with a Superman in his late 20s, early 30s. So that's off the table. So and outside of that, I just don't know, because it's been a while, Rob, since James Gunn made a movie that was not Marvel or DC. So any actors that he used to work with back in the Super or the Slither or whatever, in the Trauma days, are probably aged out for playing a younger Superman at this point. So other than Will Poulter, who is a world-class actor, other than Will Poulter, I can't think of anybody who's actually already worked with James Gunn that could step in and be a good Superman. Again, then you're left with your Austin Butlers, your Dylan O'Briens. I had a few other people that I liked as well. I don't know. When you look at James Gunn's, the stable of terrific actors that he's worked with over the years, anybody pop to mind for you?
I mean, the obvious Chris Pratt.
I mean, that's the one I left out there. I just don't know that the public would accept it, but he loves Chris Pratt.
He's also older now, too, isn't he? He's
40s.
Yeah, that's the thing.
He's in his 40s now.
I think he's going to find somebody new, and I think he probably already knows who that is.
I 100% believe you.
I think Superman has been cast. I watched Bryan Singer cast Brandon Routh. I was there for his screen test for the studio. And Brandon was Bryan's really only choice to play Superman, and had to sell Brandon because he was so new to the business to the studio. And
wasn't he working in a bowling alley at the time?
The bowling alley at Hollywood and Highland.
He was working at that bowling alley?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Yeah, and then
that's where
suddenly
he met his
By the way,
wife.
I thought he was a great Superman.
He was great, and you could see it. Like I shot behind the scenes video of him doing a screen test with Carrie Russell as Lois Lane, who was also very good as Lois Lane. She could have played the part.
She would have been a better Lois Lane.
She's great. She's astonishingly beautiful in person. Just as an aside, so sweet. But yeah, they already know.
Yeah,
it's not, and I think it's probably somebody new. I would imagine somebody new, somebody maybe that is their stars on the rise. I don't know who that is, but
I'm going to disagree with you on that one. See, I like you. I agree. I believe they've already got their Superman. But John, the Deadline report said they're now in the. I don't care what the Deadline report said. Deadline, Hollywood Reporter, they were all saying that stuff when they were in the process of finding their new Batman, and then we found out that Ben Affleck had been Batman for like 7 months. I completely agree with you that I think they already have their Superman. But I don't think it's going to be somebody brand new. And there's
I mean, there's stars on the rise. It's somebody who's in the industry probably that because there's a lot of exciting young people.
There are. I think David Zaslav is going to want a name that instantly attaches some credibility to the movie. Yeah. And here's the funny thing. If you look at James Gunn's, even his history, he usually puts in pretty recognizable people, right? Whether it's a John Cena, whether even back in the day when he did Slither, putting Nathan Fillion in there.
Oh, I think he's got an amazing eye for casting.
Yeah, he's got a terrific eye for casting.
He's really got a great eye for casting. And whoever he's going to put in is, I think, going to knock it out of the park.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about that? Who do you think is going to be our new Superman? But more specifically, when you look at the stable and talent that James Gunn has worked with over the years, maybe we're missing somebody. Like, can you see somebody that he has worked with that could be brought in? Because James is a director who really likes working with actors he knows. Can you think of somebody? Like, maybe it is a Chris Pratt. Maybe it is a Will Poulter. I don't know. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. I have made the improbable prediction that I believe by the time we get to December 31st, 2023, that the number one movie of 2023, box office wise, is going to be not Fast 10, not Indiana Jones, no Marvel film, no DC film. I think it's going to be Super Mario Brothers. And until I see it, I am standing by that prediction. Now, if it were, it doesn't need to have a record-breaking opening weekend. I mean, look at the two Avatar films. Both Avatar 1 and 2 had good opening weekends. Like no record-breaking opening weekends. And especially for something that's a family film, like Super Mario Brothers, this thing's going to have legs. Again, this is all predicated on the assumption that the movie's going to be good. If it's not, it changes things. But it would help it to have a good start out of the gate. And well, right now, it may be on track to be the biggest opening weekend of the year so far, outpacing that of a big Marvel film in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, as reports are now coming out that the projections right now for Super Mario Brothers is 85 to 90 million. And they're saying all the major trades, the analysts are saying that is lowballing it. That is lowballing it. They think as we get closer, you're going to see the opening weekend projections for this thing to blow up and expand. Now, right now, as we speak, the number one opening, I think the number 3 opening weekend of the year was Scream 6 with about a $44 million opening weekend. The second biggest opening weekend of the year so far is Creed 3 with a $54, $55, $56 million opening weekend. But the biggest opening weekend of the year so far, by far, was Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania with a $106 million opening weekend. I believe, and the analysts from the trades believe, that this is going to surpass the $106 million. But there is a problem. And the problem is, it's a matter of in mathematical semantics, because they moved up the release date for Super Mario Brothers by 2 days, which means instead of coming out on a Friday, it's actually coming out on a Wednesday, which means really instead of coming out on a Thursday night, it's really going to come out on Tuesday night. And those numbers will not count towards its opening weekend numbers. So by the time it gets to its first weekend, a lot of people will have already seen it. Not the majority of people, but a lot of people have already seen it. So it's going to have a big opening week. But by definition, its proper opening weekend numbers could take a little bit of a hit because of its early release. Now, at the end of the day, Universal does not care about what the opening weekend numbers were if the opening week was awesome. And I think you're going to see a big, big opening week. I think when you look at the insane response that the trailers have gotten, still, when I'm in the movie theater and that trailer plays, that is the trailer that gets the biggest pop. At every audience I've seen a movie that has had that trailer play, always, when you see the passion and the tears coming out of people's eyes when they walk into Super Nintendo World at Universal, like you see people coming through the tube and then coming out and then instantly start weeping. Like, it's great. You are literally talking about a multi-generational IP where your grandparents, your parents, you and your kids have played Super Mario Brothers. They say this thing is tracking extremely well with all children under 13. It's tracking extremely well with males under 25. And it's tracking extremely high with families, they define as. This movie's going to make a lot of money. And it's going to have a big opening weekend. I don't think record-shattering opening weekend, but we'll see. Rob, you saw these reports that they're talking about the tracking numbers, all the kinds of big opening week. Where do you think Super Mario Brothers is going to fall?
Dude, this movie's going to open to 150 million 5 days.
No.
Yeah.
5 days.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's even I think that's big.
No.
You think so? 150?
This movie, just like you said, this is one of these movies where even the trackers, I think this is going to be an outlier in the sense that
I love that shot, by the way.
the people that are looking at this movie do not understand how big this movie's actually going to be, I think. Because of the reasons that you said. I mean, this is a multi-generational family film that goes all the way back, we just saw, to Donkey Kong. I mean, Donkey Kong, I was playing Donkey Kong 45 years ago. Was it 45 years ago it came out? I mean, Donkey Kong came out on ColecoVision. You know, there was Atari 2600 in television and ColecoVision. I mean, this goes back 40 plus years. Everyone's going to go see this movie. And I think 150 million 5 days.
Rob's going cosplaying.
And also starring Robert Meyer Burnett as Toad the script reader.
I'm telling you.
I just realized you have a pencil in his hand.
Yeah.
That's all. And scripts in the other hand.
By the way, I got a script yesterday.
How was it, Rob? How was it?
I just, this is why, like, people look at me like I'm crazy when I say it, but, and again, I may go see this movie and say, look, it's all right, but it's not going to get the 3 or 4 repeat viewings that I thought maybe it could. Look, I'll change my mind once I see the movie, maybe, but for now, I may not be as optimistic as you as 150 million opening 5 days. I think it's going to be more legs if it's good, but I'll tell you, this movie's going to be huge.
When does it open?
April, what is it? April 5th?
Let me
Taylor-
double check that because
Taylor, if you can
So
look,
it's 3 weeks out?
yeah, I think
3,
it
4
was
weeks
going to
out?
open April 7th, and then they moved it up a couple of days to Wednesday, April the 5th.
Yeah, April 5th.
April 5th is what we're sitting on right now. So it's just a few weeks away. Dude, what? Listen, we came out of the movies yesterday, and I remember Ray saying, this has been like the best month of movies he's ever had, because he went to go see Creed. We saw 65, which we really liked. We saw Scream 6. Then we just came out of really liking Shazam. We got John Wick coming up this month. We got Dungeons and Dragons that we're going to see on Sunday. And then even once the month is done, we're rolling right into Super Mario Brothers. I mean, this has been this has been the best 5-week stretch that we've had since the pandemic
I'm
started.
still going to say it.
What's that?
To be fair, though, Ray's trying something new, staying awake during movies.
Yes, it's a brand new thing he's trying out. He's, I'll give this a shot. I'll try staying awake.
This is
But listen,
great.
when it's a movie he likes, it's keeping him awake.
I know what it is now. It's the Dolby Theater.
Dopamine.
The
Dolby Theater's pretty, yeah.
Those
Chipotle.
seats. If you can't fall asleep on those seats, I don't know what's wrong with you.
But we were in those seats
I
yesterday.
know.
You stayed awake?
And I fell asleep for like 5 minutes.
Oh, you did?
I did it right in the beginning.
Oh, right at
My
the
aunt told
beginning.
me everything that happened. So
So there
I didn't
you go.
miss much. I didn't miss much.
But seriously, since the pandemic started, we have not had a 5-week stretch of like great, like it's all subjective, of course, but to us, really enjoyable movie going experiences every single week. Like we just haven't had it in 3 years.
this could end up being the best month of movies for me in my entire life. Actually,
You're gonna be exhausted.
if John Wick and Dungeons and Dragons, I like those. This could be the greatest movie month of my life
Dungeons and Dragons is great.
that I can remember. I don't.
Wait, did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it last night. It's my second favorite movie of the year, only behind Scream 6, you guys. I was busting up the whole movie. It's perfect. I don't know anything about Dungeons and Dragons, but now I want to play. It's so good.
Well, we're going to see it on Sunday, so watch for Out of the Theater reaction. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? There's some big numbers being projected, maybe the biggest of the year so far, beating out an Ant-Man MCU movie. Where do you think this Super Mario Brothers is going to end up? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, guys, let's move into our main topic here today, shall we? And our main topic today is this. You know, if you're a Pedro Pascal fan, woo, this is the month for you. Because not only were you having him for a little bit of an overlap of him in The Last of Us, which has been the best show on television this year, and then the anticipated return of The Mandalorian. Now, I made some comments that people didn't love, but it's the truth to me, and I'll say it again. Andor has spoiled me a little bit on Mandalorian, because everybody knows I love Mandalorian. I was loving Mandalorian season 2 when everybody's crying, oh, this is too episodic, blah, blah, blah. Luke showed up, like, you're right, but I loved it all the way through. I love Mandalorian season 2 all the way through. I love the Ice Spiders episode. I love everything, right? But after watching Andor, I was like, oh, like Mandalorian's fun, but this is great. Andor could be the best thing Star Wars has made in like 30 years. Maybe. I mean, I love Rogue One as well, like a lot. And I love The Force Awakens, but Andor is like another level. It's HBO quality is the way I kind of define it. And it took a little bit of the luster off Mandalorian for me. And the first episode of Mandalorian season 3, I thought was good, but not great. I thought the second half of the second episode was great. The first half of this episode falls into that same trap that Mandalorian seems to constantly go back in, making half the show is member berries. Hey guys, remember that little red R2 unit, R5? It's him. Hey everybody, remember this bar? Oh look, we're back on Tatooine for the 17th time. Oh look everybody, Jawas on 7 different. I mean, it just seemed a little bit too much of that, but still, I love the show, and I really liked episode 3, by the way. A lot of people say it was boring, the whole story with the scientist, and while I said on the after show that while I didn't love that story, I love that they did it. I love that Mandalorian is trying to take it up a gear and say, let's actually introduce some moral dilemmas into the story. Let's deepen and build out the world a bit by giving a little bit more context and story to some of the side characters a bit, right? They pulled a little bit of a Last of Us episode 3 with the Bill and Frank story. They did a little bit of that in this episode 3, right? And while I didn't love it, I love that they did it. Well, some numbers are coming out now that are quite frankly really shocking. And that is this, that not only was the debut episode of season 3 of Mandalorian down from the season 2 premiere by 25%. A full quarter had less viewership of Mandalorian season 3 episode 1 compared to Mandalorian season 2 episode 1. Listen, 25% does not sound like a big number. It's a big number. It's a really big number. And apparently it has not improved because according to reports that are coming out now, this newest episode of The Mandalorian, episode 3, is the lowest viewed episode of the entire franchise so far. So we often talk about that the studios are looking for trajectory. Are the franchises and the sequels doing this, or are they doing this? And right now it looks like people are losing interest in Mandalorian. Now, that is not a statement of quality. It is just a statement of numerical fact. People seem to be losing interest in Mandalorian. Some of that shimmer and shine of what Mandalorian was seems to have worn off on people. Maybe it just ain't enough Baby Yoda, because I'll tell you, every second that Baby Yoda's on screen, I am delighted. I don't care what anybody says. When he hugs that Babu freak-looking son of a bitch, I love that scene. It's great. I mean, probably very much a sexual assault that was going on, but whatever, it was adorable. But people seem to be losing interest. And I don't know if it's a matter of they have not found a way to grow the show narratively, because the tone is still very much the same tone as it was in season 1, episode 1, right? I don't know if it's, God, I just don't know what it is, because I still like the series. I'm still watching it. But it's not a good sign, Rob, because and maybe it is a repercussion of the fact that they have put out some real sub-quality stuff. The Obi-Wan series, all due respect to everybody who liked it, I know a lot of people liked it, and that's awesome. I'm not trying to rain on your parade. I was disappointed with Obi-Wan. Like, I liked the first episode very much. I liked the last episode very much, but overall, I was disappointed with that series. The Book of Boba Fett was just a mess. That show was just an unmitigated mess. So maybe that had something to do with it, but it doesn't stand well because they are still planning on living in this little bubble for a while, because not only do we have Mandalorian season 3, Jon Favreau just said they've already got season 4 written. We got Ahsoka coming out, which is still run by all the same people and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I just don't know what to make of these numbers. Rob, you see them say the debut episode dropped 25%, and now the newest episode is the lowest viewed one that they've had so far. What do you attribute this to? Is it something for them to worry about, and how do they turn it around?
I think these shows have a storytelling problem in that we don't really know what the story is. With Andor, they built these things up. Like, I have to say, I really enjoyed, I thought we had a very cool battle, space battle or aerial battle at the beginning of this episode, and then Bo-Katan's castle gets blown up. I'm like, oh my God. And then we literally cut to Coruscant, and we're now telling a brand new story with a secondary character we know is involved in cloning. And we watch for 40 minutes this story, and I'm like, why am I watching this? They haven't built up to this. They just finished, the Empire is chasing Bo-Katan and the Mandalorian, and Baby Yoda blew up her castle. And then let's cut away to this story. The show's called The Mandalorian, and I understand building up Thrawn, whatever they're doing, fine. But the storytelling itself, I hate to say this because I know what Ray's going to do. The script writing is not good. This is not how to write a story like this. I mean, that's why, you watch a Game of Thrones and there's 3 different stories being intercut, and if this is the story they wanted to tell, intercut this story. Start following him for 2 episodes. I mean, they've been showing the Mandalorian fly here, fly there. Why not intercut this story over the last 2 episodes and interweave it all the way deft storytelling is working in larger fantasy and science fiction properties?
They did the same thing in Boba Fett with the Mandalorian. Right?
Yeah, they did that
because suddenly he was jammed in, right? And it's like we accepted it because we liked the Mandalorian, and it was a reprieve from Boba Fett.
Yes,
but they didn't get away with it here.
No, and like it's not that it was bad; it was interesting going to Coruscant. But look at Andor, how they're juggling these multiple storylines. You've got Mon Mothma over here, you've got Cassian Andor over here, and you've got the Imperial officer over here, and it's all interwoven.
And you got Skarsgård.
And Skarsgård, you've got, and it all is, it's
right.
all servicing a much wider storyline holistically.
And then they allowed it to crescendo.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is like, what am I watching? Suddenly I'm watching The Mandalorian. I'm like, I was really into it. What are they? Oh my God, our castle got blown up. And then they come back to that story at the end of the episode after you've watched. I mean, I was perplexed from a storytelling standpoint. Like, how am I supposed to feel watching this? You took me in this really exciting set piece, and then where am I? Oh, wait, there's this doctor? Oh, yeah, I remember that guy. And he has something to do with cloning maybe Baby Yoda, maybe cloning Palpatine.
Maybe
What's going on?
Now, we all agree, though, right, that they are clear that that whole doctor thing is setting something up that's going to be important later on in the season.
It is, but if they're going to do that, you should have been building, playing with the different. That's an interesting story. But when suddenly I'm watching one thing and then I'm where am I?
It's jam cut instead of just like interwoven.
Yeah.
Let me ask a question that nobody wants to ask out loud. All right. Because episode 1 being 25% drop could have been a fluke. But now we're 3 episodes in, and the newest episode is the lowest viewed one they've had so far. So let me ask the question that everybody knows they have in the back of their head, but nobody wants to ask out loud. Is the magic of Mandalorian gone?
No.
I'm still enjoying watching the show. I watch it at midnight the moment it comes out.
I don't even know if it's a
script issue. But the numbers dropping. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't even know if it's a script issue. That could have been an editorial decision to just jam it all at the end, or into that section.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been. Look, I think here's the problem. The problem is we're 3 episodes in, and what is the story that's being told? There's, you have to understand what the narrative thrust is in any story, and we're now 2 hours or 2.5 hours into this. I don't know where this is going. I have no idea. I mean, and if you look at our other big projects, whether it's House of the Dragon or anything, what the story is, and a story is supposed to bring you along. I don't know where I'm going. Now that the Mandalorian is back and he's part of the fold again, and they've allowed Bo-Katan to hang out, is that story now done? Now they have to start a whole new. What are they going to do now? What is the Mandalorian going to do? I have no idea. And we're going to go into episode 4 of an 8-episode series, and we're going to now start.
Yeah, Taylor looked that up. How many episodes?
We're going to start a new
9?
Story. The Mandalorian has been redeemed. He is part of the fold, and it's like, okay, well now we're going to start. Well, here's the next story.
I'm glad you brought that up, because one of my again, I have been enjoying this season. I like this show, but it has been narratively, it's been all over the place. Because I'm glad you brought that up, because follow me here. They seem to say, like, what's the new hero's quest? The quest for Mando so far in the series has been to get this little creature to a Jedi. Okay, that's done. If you didn't watch Book of Boba Fett, which good for you if you didn't. Then all of a sudden you start episode 1 and wait a minute, Baby Yoda's back with Mando again? That seems something pretty important that maybe they should have covered in this series. But be that as may. So we've got what looked like the new Hero's Quest redemption. He's going to go get redeemed. Okay, that seemed like that's going to be now the story of the season. So, well, that gets wrapped up in 3 episodes. Now he's redeemed. Okay, so now what's it about? I'm not sure. But here's the other thing. You go back to episode 1, right? It seemed like nothing is more important in the entire galaxy than I got to get IG-11 back. I cannot go to Mandalore without IG-11. I do not trust any droids other than IG-11. IG-11 is my friend. I need to resurrect him. Really? He's your friend? Then how come you left him dead for 3 years and now you only want to resurrect him when you need him? But anyway, that's a side thing.
It's complicated.
So I can't do anything without IG-11. As a matter of fact, I will travel the galaxy going planet to planet to planet, trying to find A, get him back, B, find the parts that we need to fix him. And the moment he lands on Tatooine, hey, how about you take this R5 droid? Okay. And that's it. All of a sudden, that whole thing about how I need IG-11, gone out the window, completely turned out. He was able to go to the planet with any droid he came across. Now, obviously, IG-11 is going to come back, and obviously they're going to have a probably significant thing for IG-11 to do. It's just that they set it up in the first episode too, like, I cannot go to Mandalore without this droid. No? All right, I'll take that one then. And then it was gone. So I don't know where they're going with this right now.
And now they've introduced this secondary character that we'd met before, and they're setting his problem up. He has nothing to do with the Mandalorian.
Well, I think we will find out it is important.
It's all going to come together, but but now they've added this. Now it's like, okay, for the episode 4, whose story are you interested in? I mean, there's now a new character, the Mythosaur. What's he going to do? He's just chilling out. Now he's
going to go point them to unobtainium.
I mean, Bo-Katan knows that the Mythosaur that she didn't even know was real. It was just a myth. It's not. It's there. Well, what's the Mythosaur going to do? Just chill out in the waters of Mandalore until somebody decides to show up and rebuild the planet? I mean, it's such a weird. The fact that we don't know is weird.
You know what series did this like infamously too? Later on was Heroes and Lost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're just
it really did, especially with Heroes.
I mean, what I want to know is I want to know that when I'm watching a show, and the reason we get so absorbed in it is because we know that we're being taken on a journey. This show lurches around, and I have no idea where it's going, what it's trying to accomplish, or what it's trying to say. What is it trying to say? And we're going to be 4 episodes in next week.
I think episode 4. It has to. Episode 4 needs to set the groundwork for what the rest of the season is.
I mean, are they going to meet the pirates again?
Are they going to come back at some point?
But all of this is just stuff happening.
All right, guys, question is for you. The numbers for Mandalorian not only are down, they continue to go down. It went from a 25% drop in episode 1 now to the lowest rated of the entire series so far. Has the magic of it just worn off? Are people just over the Mandalorian? Is there another reason? Maybe it's the fact that Obi-Wan and Book of Boba Fett didn't satisfy people. Maybe it's something else, or maybe, listen, it's just a blip on the radar. The numbers will go back up soon. What do you attribute it to? Whatever you guys think, jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With all that down, we're going to move on and start taking your questions that you guys have been firing in. You can bring that up again. That you guys have been firing into our tip link. That's at streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip, where your question will be read either here on this show or in an upcoming show or episode of Open Mic. But before we get to taking those questions that you guys have been sending in, we want to take a second to thank the main sponsor of our show here, our friends and my mobile service provider at Mint Mobile. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. If saving more and spending less is one of your top goals for 2023, why are you still paying insane amounts of money every month for your phone bill? Switching to Mint Mobile is the easiest way to save this year. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know I made the switch over to Mint Mobile a while ago. The process couldn't have been easier, and I can't believe that I am spending less than a third of what I was spending on one of the other major carriers before. By going online only and eliminating the traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily in minutes with eSIM. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile for being the best mobile service provider I've ever had, and of course for being a sponsor of the John Campea Show. Guys, if you're not on Mint Mobile, all seriousness, what are you doing? Go check out their link and the promo code Campea and go check them out. All right, guys, listen, before we get to the questions you guys have sent in, we just heard terrible news. Taylor, you want to say what you've been reading there?
Oh, yeah. I don't have it on my screen anymore, but Lance Reddick from the John Wick franchise has passed away at the age of 60. The first source I saw it from was TMZ, but then I was able to verify with a few other sources as well, reporting it. And then I also noticed he is in that show you watch, Vox Machina.
Vox Machina is the voice of one of the dragons.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'm really sad about this. I whenever he would pop up on screen, because every time he's one of these actors that has this power presence. Like when he walks on screen, he just has this power presence. And I love him in the John Wick. And John Wick comes out next week. And I'm really sad to hear about this. Rob, you just heard about it too. Any initial, we can talk more about it tomorrow, but any initial thoughts you have?
I love his voice. He has one of those voices. I just love his delivery. I love his voice. I love The Wire. And, I've watched The Wire all the way through probably six times.
A lot of people call it the greatest show ever on television.
He is so good. I mean, he had this natural, I'm kind of choked up about this right now, actually. He had this natural gravitas that, I'm just upset. He's one of those people. One day I wanted to work with him on something, and when you find out, now we never will. And he's one of my favorite actors. And what a blow! Apparently it was natural causes, but man.
Yeah, just so you guys know, the reports right now are saying natural causes. That doesn't make it any less sad. Anyway, guys, let us know what you think about that, and we'll probably discuss it a little bit on tomorrow's show. All right, guys. With that sad news down, and let's get over to your questions that you guys have been sending in. Rob, what do we got?
Garden Variety Vagabond says, I like the discussion you and Rob had about the battle of Wanda versus the Illuminati. I feel like the best way to write the opponents is to set aside the one side and now role play the opponents. They need the same attention to stratify and agency.
I have no idea what he means by role play the opponents. I'm not quite sure what it is he's referencing.
Yeah, I don't know either. But I mean, we were talking about how maybe that we were talking about them working together, and I thought it was kind of weird how they fought Wanda one at a time. I don't know.
Well, though in the movie, you gotta remember, it's not like he gave them the opportunity to fight them as a team. Like
right.
they confront her, they talk, like, yeah, you're dead. Boom. And then,
true.
Black Bolt, first of all, the Black Bolt kill was pretty damn good.
It was great.
That was a pretty great kill. And then, Captain Marvel, that universe's Captain Marvel and Captain Carter, they seem to work really good in tandem. And they gave Wanda a little bit of a problem, but at the end of the day, she just wiped them all out. Again, narratively, I get that it didn't quite function for some people, but to me, it was the only time in the movie to me that we really got to see just how big of a threat Wanda is. Because when she just takes out all of that universe's, their Illuminati, that's Hulk level stuff.
Yeah, no, right? It was amazing.
All right, what's next?
Tip goes on. Oh no, Dildar the Glorious says, went and saw Scream last week. The power went out for a split second. We had to restart where it left off.
Oh, wow.
Other than that, It was amazing. The train scene is my favorite.
You know what? I say, first of all, yeah, I had a very good time with Scream. I didn't think it was good as Scream 5, but I really enjoyed it. I am constantly amazed. Think about this. Think of all the technological moving pieces that happens with one single movie presentation in a movie theater, right? The timing of the lights, the sound, the order of ads with trailers, then the movie playing, the electric, like all that kind of stuff, right? Now, in any given day in the United States, there are 60 to 80,000 movie presentations per day. You take all the screens, 3 screenings per screen per day. Like it, when you consider how many times this dance happens every single day, I am shocked that we don't hear about more technical issues than we do. And thankfully for you, they were able to correct it pretty quickly. And that's great. I mean, we had a private screening. We were at our John Campea viewer private screening. I think it was Spider-Man No Way Home. And it started playing, and it was the Spanish subtitled version.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Right. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
It was the Spanish subtitle version. So obviously a little bit of a technical glitch. Went out, told them, they restarted the movie for us. But I'm just surprised these technical problems don't happen more often. It's kind of amazing that they don't. All right, what's next?
Garden Variety Vagabond says, just left Shazam, about 20 people total in the theater. As I talked to a guy sitting next to me on the way out, learned he was also a John Campea follower, and soon we would all rise up and, oh, wait, wrong cult. Shazam sucked. The second post-credit, much worse.
How dare you, sir?
Hey, listen, not every movie's for everybody. We had a really good time at it, and the theater I was in had a really good time. I agree. The second post-credit scene, I had no problem with the post-credit. Don't get me wrong. I had no issue. It was not bad. But if you were to ask me, is it worth waiting around the 8 extra minutes? Nah, you can get up and go. It's nothing important happens in the second post-credit scene. It's just kind of a cute little thing, and then it's gone. But I'm sorry you didn't enjoy yourself. We did. We had a good time. But again, like I said, about half of the critics, a little less than half the critics didn't like the movie at all, when 90% of them did like it the first time around. So it is what it is. All right, what's next?
Rascallion says, hi, y'all. I just saw the trailer for Netflix's new series, Beef, starring Ali Wong and Steven Yeun. Looks pretty good. Thoughts?
I am not...
Squish Eye Steer?
Not sure. I have not seen the trailer for it.
I watch it.
But I've heard about it. And 4 days ago, went to go see Ali Wong live. And I was tired, so our buddy Tommy went with her instead. And Anne texted me. I was working at home. She texted me the moment the show was done. Now, I'm not the biggest Ali Wong stand-up comedian fan. I think she's good. I loved her Always Be My Maybe movie.
Yeah.
That she did with Randall Park. I love that movie. But the moment her stand-up show ended, Anne texted me. She texted 3 words: funniest shit ever. And Anne came home and basically like replayed the entire Ali Wong stand-up set. But hey, listen, put Steven Yeun in there, who is kind of blowing up right now. He's joining the MCU. I'm interested, even though I haven't seen the trailer yet. Have any of you guys seen this trailer?
Funny.
It was funny. It was good.
I was a little confused by it, but it looks really, really funny.
All right, what's next?
Bry Guy D. Stringham says, Cartoon Network's The Amazing World of Powerpuff Gumball movie in 23D. My grand bro sis's reinvention of the Watterson family's box office bomb adventure. Is that real?
That's not the real title, is it? I'm looking at Taylor like, I don't know why I just think Taylor is our go-to information box for all things Powerpuff Girls.
The Amazing World of Powerpuff Gumball movie in 23D. My grand bro sis's reinvention of the Watterson family's box office bomb adventures.
I'm gonna eat an edible and review this.
I think they were on an edible when they sent this.
I don't know what that means.
Get edible and review this. Yeah. Okay. I remember they pulled the plug on it at one point. Like, what's her name? Girl who was in that terrible Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. The lead girl from that. She was gonna be one of the voices in it. And for some reason, she's dating one of the Logan brothers. I can't remember. I thought that had died. Is that thing still happening?
I don't know. I think someone went on a vision quest and then sent that.
Yeah, could be.
Chloe Bennett.
Take an edible and then review it. All right, what's next?
Bry Guy D. Stringham says Superman versus Godzilla, all rise for the Kings of Steel.
You know what? Sign me up. I'd watch that movie. Because I mean, basically, because Godzilla has often been portrayed, particularly in the animation stuff, as immortal. Like Godzilla is the way they write Godzilla, which I personally don't like, but especially in the animated stuff, they basically make him out to be completely indestructible and completely immortal. Like when they come up with one thing that can beat him, they say, well, actually, Godzilla's cells will fuse nuclear energy to do, like, basically, he's a force of nature, completely undefeatable. Superman, who has traditionally quite been overpowered, whatever. Superman versus Godzilla. I'd be
Come on,
down.
dude. Superman wouldn't hit Godzilla.
Yeah, he's too cute.
I don't know, man. In many iterations of Godzilla, he is the monster.
I mean, Superman
like
could
Godzilla's
just
often
pick
the
Godzilla
problem,
up
right?
and leave him in orbit for a while till he cools off, and then bring him back down to Earth.
You would think, but you know, the Godzilla writers always come up with a way why that solution won't work on Godzilla.
It's true.
I don't know, so we'll see. But I would watch it. All right, what's next?
Storm and Norman. Ooh, that's a great reference.
Send a $20 tip. Thank you, Storm and Norman.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Storm
that,
and
man.
Norman. When are we getting the Halo movie editorial about how Microsoft ruined the Peter Jackson produced and Guillermo del Toro directed movie? Del Toro backed out and Fox hired Neil Blomkamp, but Microsoft didn't trust him with the $6 billion Halo IP.
I back in my days when I ran the movie blog, which was my first big website and blog, I made a big deal out of that because Neil Blomkamp, here's the thing. I said back in the day when Peter Jackson, who was originally going to direct a Halo movie, decided he wasn't going to do it. And he went out and got this, at the time, completely unknown Neil Blomkamp guy, who later went on, of course, to do District 9, which was great, and also did Elysium, which was not very good, and Chappie, which was not very good. It's all subjective. Maybe you like those films, great. But I thought those movies were quite awful, other than District 9. But he had never done it. Here's the thing. At the time, Neil Blomkamp had never directed a film, had never been an assistant director on a film, had never been a coffee runner for an actual film. At the time, he had never done anything to work on an actual movie. And I remember when they got him, I said, this movie won't happen. I wrote an editorial on the movie blog. I said, this movie's not going to happen because there is no way a studio is going to put up $300 million when you take into consideration development, production, and post-production and marketing. There is no way a studio is going to put up $300 million on a movie for a kid who's never directed anything ever or worked on a movie anytime ever. And if Peter Jackson believes in this movie so much, why isn't he directing it? Because he stepped away from it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, through a lot of different reasons, the movie had the plug pulled. And I'll tell you what, it was the right move to pull the plug. Because yes, Neil Blomkamp, who I believe he at least went to school in Canada. So honorary good Canadian kid. Neil Blomkamp, District 9 was a project and a story that he had been with for years because he created it.
Well, he made that short.
He made the short of it.
Short.
Which is what they based the entire movie on. He made the short. This had been his thing all along, his own little thing. But the moment, and the movie was great. I love District 9. But the moment he moved out of that, he started to show the chinks in his armor of him as a filmmaker. And, you know, then he was going to do an Aliens thing, and then the studio pulled the plug on that. And I'm telling you right now, to this day, it was I know it butthurt a lot of people, but it was the right move. Peter Jackson, who I love and adore, but he should have directed that film himself. Because had he directed that film himself, the studios would have lined up and funded it, no problem. But it was the right decision for them to pull the plug. You do not do a $300 million film with a guy directing it who has never so much as run for coffee on a real movie. You just don't do it. So it was the right move. It was the right move. All right, what's next?
Anonymous sends in a tip. Thank you, Anonymous.
Thank you, Anonymous.
Charles says, saw Shazam Fury of the Gods. I loved it. Shazam is my favorite DC film. Didn't Shazam 2 have to start and stop its ad campaign twice? Is that and Black Adam's poor performance dragging a good movie down? I'd love your thoughts and bring on the filthy.
Listen, I think whenever you have a film that had potential and underperforms, there are always going to be several factors that go into that, right? And by the way, so far, we don't know that Shazam is underperforming. I'm just, speculating that it's going to pretty much underperform, even though I quite enjoyed the movie a lot. It deserves much better. But the Black Adam thing didn't help, that's for sure. And yes, the confusion, the shuffling release dates and all that kind of stuff, that didn't help either. And look, the reality is this. Not a ton of people saw the first one. So that is what it is. So like Shazam 2 was never going to be an $800 million project. I mean, that was never going to happen. So that's fine. But I think there are several factors. Those that you pointed out certainly were a couple of them. All right, what's next?
Lover of Art. Oh, Lover of Art. There you go. I'm trying to read it, and it says right there. 1 of 4. John, Attack on Titan is finally going to have its conclusion animated later this year. It debuted in 2013. Can't believe it. I know you've said that you didn't get into it, and I understand that you're pressed on time and only can watch so much. I respect that. However, I can't help but feel that you'd quite actually enjoy it very much if you give it another go. The story becomes so much more than what the initial premise leads on. It takes you places you'd never expect. With a lot of deep and powerful themes, it's not just about slaying titans. It develops into something deeper and mind-boggling. Ooh. If you love Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Greek mythology, I think you'd like this too. The animation and music alone, but the story and characters back it up. Hopefully, I might have convinced you just a tad bit more than before. And if not, that's okay. Maybe you can add it to your list of things to watch when you retire. Laugh out loud and much love. Lover of Art.
Attack on Titan is one of those strange things because my wife, Ann, she went out and she got the graphic novel of it. And I quite enjoyed it. I mean, I don't know how much more came after the set that I read, but I quite enjoyed it. So I was looking forward to watching the series. But the animated one didn't work for me. For whatever reason, I'm not going to crap on it. I'm not going to say it was bad or anything. I'm just saying it didn't work for me. So it wasn't for me. So
I've only watched the initial. I think I have the first. I don't know what it is. I have a Blu-ray of I don't know how much more there is of it. And there's a live action one too.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is an Asian live action one.
Yeah, but it goes. I don't know where it goes.
I guess, again, for me, it just didn't work. So if there's something that I'm not enjoying, instead of continuing to watch it and getting angrier about it, I move on. I just move on to try it. And listen, there's so much content out there. Like every day I have stuff people writing in saying, John, you need to check this out. And all these things I put onto a list. I wish I had a Chris Jericho sound effect there. You're on the list. I want to add it to my list, but I probably won't be going back to something I already tried. Although I have done that a couple of times. The FX series Legion. I watched the first episode and a half and I really didn't like it and I tapped out. And then everybody kept telling me, John, trust me, it gets better. Go back to it. And John Schnepp, it was actually one of the guys says, John, look, I understand what you're saying about the first episode too. You got to go back. So about 4 weeks later, I went back to it and I ended up loving it. So it has happened for me, just not often. All right, what's next?
Murray Reich says, I saw Shazam 2, and overall it was entertaining, but nowhere as good as the first film. Film felt too cartoonish. Some humor worked, the family dynamics great, the cameo is great, which I didn't know. It wasn't in the promos. The first end credit is great, and the second one was dumb.
I wouldn't say the second one was dumb. I'd say the second one was pointless. Is kind of my interpretation of. But you know what? Just said exactly what I was pointing out, right? I think for some people, there is in some, again, not nearly on the same scope of Thor: Love and Thunder, but there is a percentage of Thor: Love and Thunder silliness in it that will not work for everybody. And totally understandable. And I think that's what he's referring to a little bit, and I totally get it. But even with that aside, I just thought there was enough in there. I agree with him. The family dynamic was fantastic. Not all the humor work, but man, there's some humor in it Ann and I and Ray, when we were walking out, repeated the same joke about 3 or 4 times. That just cracked me up. I thought a lot of the humor did work, but again, like most film, it is subjective. It's not going to be for everybody. So I totally see what you're talking about there. All right, what's next?
Stormin Norman says, I read that Louis Leterrier rewrote the whole third act of Fast X and wanted it to feel more grounded in reality. Well, thank God. Sounds great after Justin Lin took me to space in Fast 9. He also talked about being on the short list to direct Fast 8, and I never knew that.
I don't know that Justin Lin was the problem.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to tell you what I heard, okay? And I cannot independently verify what I had heard was true. That's why we never made a story out of it or anything like that. But just between us movie fans.
We're listening.
What I had heard was that Lin was actually the one really resisting the way over the topness. Like there's over the top, and then there's driving a car into outer space over the top.
That's even a Fiero.
Yeah.
And they've got duct tape.
And duct tape,
We
right.
know how that works,
Yeah,
don't we?
that
Right?
doesn't work. I know too.
And what I had heard through some people was that Justin Lin was like, I don't know. I don't want to really do that. And then Justin had problems with Vin Diesel and whatever. And I love Vin Diesel, but apparently Justin and him had some issues. Again, I cannot independently verify that that's remotely true. It's just one of the things that I had heard. So I'm not sure that Justin Lin was the problem. And I don't know, maybe Justin left. Maybe Vin took some of the criticism to heart and said to Louis when he came in, you know what, let's change this up a bit. And, you know, maybe we don't have Vin Diesel suck in the energy of the sun to become Mega Man. I don't know.
To pull down the temple walls.
God, in that last one, when he literally grabs the chains and literally pulls the building down, I'm like, oh my God, what are they doing? Anyway, we went from Fast and Furious 1, where he's a mechanic who just drives cars in the evenings for fun, to
Now he's Samson.
pulling down entire concrete structures with his arms. Tears them down. Anyway. All right. What's next?
Dildar the Glorious says, it's St. Patrick's Day, and you know what that means? Getting plastered and have a leprechaun marathon. You got to be drunk to watch those movies.
That's every
laugh
day
out
here.
loud.
That's just every day. No, I mean, the funny thing, I don't drink.
Leprechaun went to space.
Much.
Leprechaun did go to space. I am not a drinker, but you will, like, once in a blue moon, you'll see me take a drink just to be social with everybody. But the reason I don't drink is not for any moral, ethical, addiction, whatever reason. I just don't drink because, straight up, I don't like the taste of alcohol. I think alcohol tastes awful. I can't take it. Like every time we go to an and I'll have a drink, here, taste this, you might like it. I'm like, and I hate the taste of alcohol. But so not a lot of me getting plastered. But yeah, I'll be honest with you. I totally forgot today was St. Patrick's Day. And I got a message for somebody this morning as I was getting ready to leave the house. And they mentioned, oh, it's Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm like, what? I'm like, hey, Google, when is St. Patrick's Day?
when you
St.
said
Patrick's Day is today. I'm like, well, reached in my closet, pulled out the only green thing I had. And it's like, yay, St. Patrick's Day. I tell you what, I miss St. Patrick's Day in my hometown of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Because there was a restaurant, I don't think it's there anymore, but there was this great restaurant pub called Solanche in Hamilton. And first of all, it was always a great place to hang out. It's where I developed my love for bangers and mash. But it's St. Patrick's Day stuff was through the roof. I mean, it was literally thousands of people would go down to this place. And I do kind of miss that.
It's too bad because me being a raging alcoholic, you have an amazing dive Irish bar close to your house. That last St. Patrick's Day, they had to close it down.
Boondocks?
Yeah, oh, dude. That place is like fights break out. There was a fire there last St. Patrick's Day. I mean, that is a
This place has no windows.
No,
which I'm
I
not
will
even
never.
sure is up
It's
to
right by
code.
my place. I will never go in that
I'm not
place.
even sure it's up to code, but there's no windows on the
It
building.
sounds like that Stefan SNL skit. This place has no windows and no doors,
I gotta
but
tell
there's a
you,
fire.
I love dive bars where true alcoholics could day drink, and that is one of the great places to go. I'm telling you.
Some people have gone in there and never come out.
And never come out. All right, we
Fantastic.
just got time for a couple of quick more. What do we got?
Wicked Man says beating Thanos would have been very easy. The Avengers should have just called Khabib.
Khabib Nurmagomedov. He is. I mean, I these people who don't really know MMA all that much saying, "Oh no, John Bones Jones is the greatest," or for a while would say like Conor McGregor was the greatest, or even my beloved George St. Pierre, who's a good Canadian kid, my favorite fighter of all time. But there's nothing comes close. Nurmagomedov is the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. John Bones Jones has had his ass beat several times. Nobody ever came close to Khabib. No one ever came close. Yeah, you throw him into a ring with Thanos, he taps Thanos out. Thanos taps out. I mean, that's just the way it is. All right, what's next?
Wicked Man goes on to say, I remember when I first heard of Khabib, I looked him up on YouTube and saw that he was wrestling an actual bear as a kid.
Yeah, growing up in, is it Uzbekistan? I think that's where he's from. There's the legends are true. Like his dad would literally throw him in and have him wrestle bears as a kid. I mean, this dude grew up. You can grow up street. He grew up like
Woods.
Yeah, he grew up woods, man. He was all the legends. Like I feel like pulling a Harrison Ford. The legends are true, all of it. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. He's
cocaine bear?
He was invincible. Nurmagomedov was the Godzilla of MMA. He was invincible. Nothing could touch him. Nothing could beat him. Again, like I said, the thing about John Bones Jones, who is great. I'm taking nothing away from John Bones Jones. He's great. He's Mount Rushmore great. But he's had his ass beat. Like he's been in fights where he barely won by the skin of his teeth. His last lightweight title defense, I'm sorry, he lost. He lost that fight. I don't care what the judges say. He lost that fight and everybody knows it. But he's great. He's all-time great. Nurmagomedov ripped through everybody, was never once in trouble in his life, in his career. There was never a moment in any of his fights where people thought, ooh, maybe the tide is turned. No. It was always just a matter of time until Khabib would take somebody down, drag them underwater, and drown them. That every single time. Nothing could touch him. Nothing challenged him. It was immortal-like, like absolutely immortal-like. It was crazy. And now his main protege is ripping up the MMA world and is the new lightweight champion and all that kind of stuff. And God, I just want Nurmagomedov to come back. I just want him to come back. Anyway. All right, one last one, and then we'll call it a day.
Well, also from Wicked Man. I think Goodfellas has the greatest opening scene. Just three guys driving at night and they hear something in the trunk.
Listen, there's so much great about Goodfellas. I mean, so much great about them. And there's so many moments, like a lot of the great all-time movies will have these moments that you'll always remember, like this happening in this, like whether it's the Bone Tomahawk scene or whether great movies will have, everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say that. Like great movies will have that scene. Goodfellas has like 12 of them. Like 12 of those like all-time great scenes, right? It's just amazing. All right, guys, listen. For everybody, let's bring up the list again and we'll scroll down a bit. For everybody who still had things, oops, I lost my monitor. Oh, well.
So did I.